sort of see as I'm talking how some of those songs sort of fit what we're doing today. So, to start with, I know quite a few of you were here last week when Doug spoke, so I just want to just go back a minute and say that loads of things that he said I totally agreed with about James, it being very practical and very enjoyable, and I hope, I think many of you have probably actually read it. It's actually tucked away right at the back of the New Testament, and here I've got the Bible, and there it is sort of quite near the end. It's only 5 chapters, but it's a good read. It's got lots to say about putting the Christian faith into action. Just a little bit background. The author James, we think, may have been the brother of Jesus, and is believed to become a Christian when he saw the risen Lord and went on to become the leader of a church in Jerusalem. So he's writing from a Jewish background and is very aware of all the Jewish traditions and the rigid rules. But then Christianity has nothing like this. But he does seek to remind us that we need to have genuine Christian standards and values in all our areas of life. So I'm going to read the passage to you. Okay. So it's entitled, Listening and Doing. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger, to become angry. For man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. Therefore, get rid of all moral filth and the evil that is so prevalent, and humbly accept the word planted in you, which can save you. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like a man who looks at his face in a mirror, and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But the man who looks intently into the perfect law is freedom and continues to do this, not forgetting what he's heard, but doing it. He will be blessed in what he does. If anyone considers himself religious and yet does not keep a tight rein on his tongue, he deceives himself, and his religion is worthless. Religion that God our Father accepts is pure and faultless in this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. So, act on what you hear. Listen first and then speak. How often do we open our mouths before thinking what we're saying? Some of us are good listeners, but most of us are not. And we should acknowledge this fact. Most things go in one ear and out the other. So I've got something practical I want you to do, something we did at church and it's most interesting, something else. I want you on a table, I want you to talk to your neighbour, and back again. So I want you to tell each other 6 facts. Possibly maybe the people, especially if you know the people that they don't actually know. So for example, I'll just give you an example. Me. So I'm Carol, I live in Tile Hill. I've got 5 whippets, one only 3 months old. I drive an electric car. I organise lunch clubs on Monday, and I play the cello and recorder. So that's my 6. So you have a few minutes, just talk to your neighbour, so the other one listens, and then talk back, and then I want you to tell the other person what they've said, and see if you can remember. So over to you for the next couple of minutes. Okay, Carol, talking now. Right.
They're not stopping.
Everybody, right. So, how easy did you find that? Did you remember what the other person had said? Yeah. It's easy when there's 2. When there's 4 of you, we did at church, quite difficult, and then it's not like a bit later in the evening, but yeah, we don't always listen that easy. You remember what I said?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So we decided we got 3 whippets, 1 3 minutes.
5 minutes. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the time we don't listen clearly. You know, we think we're listening, but we don't always listen very well.
We listen because we knew we were going to be tested on it.
Yeah, yes. So, what do we think? Did we listen well? Okay. So it can be all too easy to jump straight into conversations and not really listen. This can lead to confusion, which then can become anger. We can never be right. The angry talker is not doing what is right in God's sight. And this is one thing we shall see a bit more on in chapter 3. I'm not sure who's doing that, but it does come back again. James tells us that we need to get rid of, as if it were a polluted garment, all moral filth. We've all got evil within us, but it shouldn't be allowed to break out into hasty words or violent temper. The Message, which is I love the Message version, puts it as a spoiled virtue and cancerous evil in the garbage, which is interesting. I always think when you talk about being cancerous, it's quite a strong word, and we know how cancer can be damaging when it spreads around the body. That was interesting words to use. So we need to accept the message that God puts in our hearts and then let this spread. His message is always very strong and it can help us deal with everything. So if we hear the message and listen to it, then we need to choose to obey, to do what God says. But this doesn't always happen. We can deceive God, but we can't deceive ourselves. Do we spend time looking in a mirror? I'm sure most of the ladies do. I spend as little time as possible. There aren't many mirrors in our house. The passage talks of looking in a mirror. So we stand and look at ourselves in the mirror and we see what needs doing. Our hair, our makeup, perhaps we've got a dirty mark left from breakfast or food stains. But we can be easily distracted. We glance in a mirror, see ourselves, and we don't like what we see. So we're distracted and walk away. But are we like the earnest person who looks closely into the mirror and instead of going away, stays there looking so that he doesn't forget but acts on what you see? So is that you? If you see something needs doing, do you act on it? Hopefully we're not all scatterbrains, as the Message puts it, but men and women of action. Only then will we receive a blessing. But we have to remember that we're actually looking into a divine mirror, not just a mirror on the wall. God's law is perfect, but we do need to remember that the teachings of Christianity are based on the Old Testament moral law. If we obey this moral law, the Christian is given the freedom to be what he was created for. This law is perfect and gives us freedom. We obey it not because we have to, as it would have been in the Old Testament, because we want to. So what about us? Do we claim to be religious, but do nothing that we should be doing as a child of God? If we know God as our Father, then we should be concerned with everything, creation, with his children. We should be giving to the needy, the homeless. We should be fasting and worshipping. But are we just spouting hot air? Do we have control over what we say and do? We need to be aware of the corruption in this world. It's so easy to let things slip. So easy for the world to squeeze us into its mould, being no black and white, just grey. real religion is faith in action. And that's very much runs through what James says. Caring for those less fortunate, for all God's children, and refusing to let the world have a hold on us or push us into corruption. So, for all, James' comments in this chapter give us a fair idea of what a Christian should be like. James has a very positive attitude to the difficulties of life. He doesn't blame God when things go wrong. He knows where to turn for help and guidance. He reminds us that we need to have genuine Christian standards and values in every area of our life, not just when we go to church. He sets himself to God's standards and he lives to them. He puts his faith into action and it shows. We need to do the same. Now, final song, Ursula was commenting about the age of some of the songs. They said the final song is even older. Something that probably made me cry. It's Trust and Obey. And I was thinking, this could be strong words, but if we hear the words, we need to do them. So yes, we need to accept them, we need to obey them. And there's been a lot of times in my life that I've heard stuff and thought, but you have to do it. Sometimes it seems, I'm not sure about that, should I? Or it seems stupid, or even not possible. But if you hear the word and he tells you to do something, then you should do it. So you have to obey. So